Whether new shooter, longtime gun owner, or even police officer or soldier, your handgun needs a Crimson Trace laser sight or light. Get the confidence and reliability you need to protect family, home, and country. Crimson Trace.
This is Tom Gresham's Gun Talk, now available on iTunes and other podcast clients, and on the free Gun Dealio smartphone app for iPhone and Android. Feel free to call Tom now at 1-TOM-TALK-GUN or 866-825-5486, or email tom@guntalk.com. Now, once again, here's Tom.
All righty, back with you here. Tom Gresham, 866-TALK-GUN. I mentioned earlier, I think there may be some kind of a sea change going on in America, because as more and more of the crazed Democrats call for more and more gun control, which never ever works, of course, and it makes them nuts that they can't get it done because they think, well, how stupid are you people? And they really do truly think that you and me, we're all just too dumb to be able to understand that if we just had more gun control, terrorists would cease being terrorists. Right. And so, as they call for more and more gun control, more and more people buy guns. And I'm getting reports of people who maybe didn't like guns before, who are looking into buying guns, looking into getting training. There are a lot of people you might not expect who have guns, who carry guns. And there are a lot of the... How do I put this? I want to say know-it-all, but that's not quite it. The people who are so self-assured of their superiority, who simply would think, well, no one I know, of course, because I only hang out with the right kind of people, and none of the people I hang out with would ever be a part of that NRA terrorist gun culture. And yet I get this note from a friend of mine. He is a top-level, and I do mean top-level, computer guy at a top-level company that you would know the name of immediately. He says, at a holiday party yesterday, one of our VPs, at my table of 8, began to foam about guns, violence, and the idiots that conceal carry, and was thankful that none of us IT professionals would ever conceal carry. It got really quiet at our table, and she noticed the sea change. A very tiny woman with 3 kids smiled and said, "I don't drink when I carry." She had only a glass of water in front of her. The idiot VP looked at me and made a snarky comment about me drinking a tall gin and tonic. I explained that I was drinking soda with a lime, then mentioned that I knew for a fact that 3 of the 8 people sitting at our table were armed. She had completely misread the audience. Almost sounds like that famous bigoted line. I don't know anybody, or some of my best friends are. None of the people I know would ever carry a gun. Yeah, except that a lot of them do, including this tiny woman with 3 kids. Just interesting little tidbit there. As we look at the rabid is the word that jumps into my mind. The rabid calls for gun control, and as they're unable to get done what they want, they get crazier and crazier. Now calling the NRA a terrorist organization, literally wanting to have the NRA listed with groups of terrorist organizations. That would be you and me, of course, who would be the terrorist. Saying, of course, that if you're on the secret blacklist that the government puts together, you wouldn't be able to own a gun. It's also known as the no-fly list. Well, there are some pretty smart people looking into what's going on with gun control. One of them is Lenden Eakin. He joins us right now talking about his new book, Showdown, The Looming Crisis Over Gun Control. Lenden, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me, Tom.
What made you write this book, Showdown, The Looming Crisis Over Gun Control?
Sandy Hook made me write it, or the reaction to it. I listened to what was being said about the solution to Sandy Hook, assault weapons bans, and universal background checks, and it made no sense to me. So I started looking into it and found out there's this massive organization of people and groups who want to do away with firearms in the United States, and then I decided to write about both sides of the issue. Of course, the guns Adam Lanza used was assault weapons ban compliant in Connecticut, and nobody mentions that. But Connecticut kept the assault weapons ban after it expired, and this rifle complied with it. But you'd think that it didn't. And it just was a little strange to me because I didn't realize all these people were so fearful and adamantly opposed to the Second Amendment and people being armed until I started looking into it, because I was always in the gun community, not the anti-gun community, growing up and throughout my adult life, and I just wasn't aware of it until Sandy Hook happened, and it all was all over the news.
Well, now, you're an attorney. You look at this with the logic of an attorney. Did it surprise you once you started digging into it to find how many people and groups were pushing this, or maybe you found something else? I don't know.
It did surprise me, and it surprised me at the international nature of it. I was not aware of Oxfam and the European Union efforts to eliminate civilian firearms ownership, and the UN Small Arms Treaty that President Obama is trying to comply with right now with background checks and assault weapons bans. I think that's more what that's about than trying to prevent anything. And I just didn't know all that existed. I know the NRA had... I thought maybe was crying wolf a little bit that we had to worry so much, but turns out there is a massive organization or set of organizations in the world who do not like the idea of private citizens being armed.
One of the things that occurs to me is that the gun ban industry, and it is exactly that, they may understand, but the media doesn't. A lot of Americans don't understand where we are, we as legal, responsible gun owners, where we have, over the last 50 years, seen the Gun Control Act of 1968 passed, and then another law, and then another law, and then, NICS checks, and then waiting periods, and then, just on and on. And we've seen all of these happen, and none of it makes anybody any safer. And so for a lot of us, we've said, okay, that's it, not anymore. And they always say, well, can't you just compromise a little bit? And only partly tongue-in-cheek, I say, yes, I'll compromise. Rather than repeal all gun laws, I'll repeal half of them. But this is as far as we're going. We're not going to go any further, and absolutely not going to give an inch at this point. And I'm just wondering what you've found in your research. Maybe that describes some of the huge divide between these groups?
It does. It's the progressive method. The progressive method says that we ask for compromise and we get it. We don't stop and we keep going. And in my world of litigation as an attorney, when we have a settlement and a compromise, the judge enforces that with a final order and we can't go back for more. But in politics, if you compromise with the progressives, they'll be back the next day with all of their resources trying to take the next step. And so you have to draw the line somewhere, and that's what most people in the pro-gun industry or side of things have done. They realize that any compromise is simply moving the ball down the road in favor of doing away with firearms, and that's how the progressives put it. They try to move the ball.
Time after time I've seen when a gun control law gets passed and signed into law, the president or the governor, whoever it is signing it, quite literally signs it, puts down the pen and looks up and then says these words or something very close to it. Well, of course, we know that this won't end crime by itself, but it's a good first step. Now, it doesn't matter if it's the 50,000th step. Somehow they keep calling it a good first step, which goes to your point, which is all they're saying is, okay, we got this one. Now let's move on to the next one.
Well, now we have to tighten what we did, is what the terminology is right now in California. We didn't tighten it enough because they were still able to legally buy a couple of AR-15s in California that complied with their law. And so now there's a push to tighten that law further, and that's what the progressives do. They get what they can and then keep the fight going for the next time.
All right, the title of your book is Showdown, the Looming Crisis Over Gun Control. What is the crisis?
The crisis is when you combine universal background checks that allow tracing with an assault weapons ban and combine those two things to cause confiscation. And when the government starts trying to confiscate more and more of people's quote-unquote assault weapons, and we know that terminology is off, but when they come to the door looking for your rifle, a lot of people are going to resist that either passively or actively, and it's going to be a crisis if that happens in this country.
Now, you know that a lot of people are going to say, oh, you're crazy. No one would ever resist that. People will obey the law. What do you think?
Well, look at Connecticut. Only a small fraction of the AR-15 owners in Connecticut registered their AR-15 like they were legally required to by January 1st of this year, and they just didn't do it. Mm-hmm. Thousands and thousands of people didn't do it. I think they only registered about 10%. And the magazines were even worse. They were supposed to register any magazine that held over 10 rounds by January 1st. And almost nobody in Connecticut did it. And Connecticut is a relatively liberal state where you would think people would be a little more anti-gun, but not the gun owners. And I think we'll see the same thing in New York and Maryland and a lot of these other states where they're enacting these bans. And we know that the more conservative states across the South and the northwestern part of the United States is going to have millions of people who will not voluntarily surrender their ability to defend themselves.
There are some percentage, I don't know what the percentage is, call it 1%. Say it's only 1% of gun owners who say, okay, this is the line and I will not cross it and I will not let anybody cross it, and this is where I stop and have to defend my country in any means possible. If it's 1%, if there are in fact 100 million gun owners in the country, that's 1 million people with guns who say, no, this is not going to happen.
And if there's 300 million guns, that's 3 million guns.
That's right.
And I think you'll get more than that. The Supreme Court hasn't ruled on the background check issue. I think they would uphold background checks, by the way. The assault weapons ban is a different story, and we'll see if they didn't take it from the Highland Park case in Illinois, but I think they'll take it if we have a circuit court that rules against them and there's a conflict in the federal circuits.
How do people get a hold of your book, Showdown, the Looming Crisis Over Gun Control?
It's on Amazon with a discount for putting in GUNTALK, and it's also on my website, guncontrolbook.com. And with a discount code GUNTALK, we're selling it at a substantial discount for anyone who's a GUNTALK listener and uses that code.
Well, we appreciate that. So you could get a good deal on a book. In fact, you might want to buy more than one. It's that time of year to give books away. The title is Showdown, the Looming Crisis Over Gun Control by Lenden Eakin. And look for it on Amazon or that website again, Lenden?
GunControlBook.com.
There you go. I appreciate it. Thank you, sir. All right, 866-TALK-GUN. Be right back.
Gunny here to talk about how Glock's commitment to safety, durability, and reliability gives one a sense of confidence. Whether you're a Tier 1 operator or you're an average Joe, Glock supports those who go into harm's way by giving them the means of reliable defense. Our troops and veterans know better than anyone. You're only as good as your tools allow. Confidence is more than a state of mind. Confidence is what you carry. And I carry Glock.
A great rifle and scope won't do you any good if your mount fails. Whether it's for hunting, competition, or tactical use, Warren has a rugged, reliable scope mount for you. Warren scope mounts are the choice of top competitors and professional hunters alike. American-made quality and performance you can count on. Visit your local dealer or go to warrenscopemounts.com. WARNE scopemounts.com. Set your sights on Warren.
You're at a gun store and your phone tells you about hot deals. Want to know about special offers? No problem when you have Gun Dealio, the free app for your smartphone. Gun Dealio delivers the latest deals on guns, ammo, and extras direct to your phone. Don't overpay for your shooting gear. Get Gun Dealio. It's free at the App Store and Google Play. Trigger the deals with Gun Dealio. GunDealio.com.
For 36 years, the U.S. Sportsmen's Alliance has been fighting to protect hunting, fishing, and trapping for sportsmen from coast to coast. Today, we are under constant attack from extremist animal rights groups who want to end your ability to hunt in the U.S. Join us to protect our sporting heritage and our way of life outdoors. To join or for more information on how you can help, go to ussportsman.org. That's ussportsman.org.
Are you looking for a place to shoot? The National Shooting Sports Foundation has a great website called wheretoshoot.org. It's the largest database of shooting ranges on the internet. It's also a great resource for shooters where you can find video tips, printable targets, and a lot more. Find it online at wheretoshoot.org. And while you're there, download their free iPhone app. That's wheretoshoot.org.
Let's get right to it. Line 2, John's in Grand Forks, North Dakota. John, what you looking for?
Oh, hi. We like your show.
Thank you.
My dad's 92, mom's 90. They're in a assisted living situation. And I picked up Dad's, the rest of his guns, brought him home. He's got an 870 Wingmaster. Checking it, it looks like it was made in February 1951. Very pristine. You'd think it was new.
Oh,
but my question
nice.
was, before I shoot it, I'm going to get it cleaned by somebody who knows what they're doing. But someone also said that made in 1951, that barrel can only shoot lead shot.
Well, you could shoot steel shot in it, but it would be hard on the barrel.
Yep.
But you can replace the barrel on that. You can buy an extra barrel, take that one off, and just put it in the closet and use that for lead shot if you're shooting clay targets or quail or something like that. And then if you want to shoot waterfowl where you're required to use non-toxic shot, you could use a separate barrel for steel shot. You can buy barrels for 870s.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So evidently my friend knew what he was talking about.
Right, because in 1951, we were not required to use non-toxic shot for migratory waterfowl as we are now.
When did they start making it? And I'll let you go. But
start making the non-toxic steel shot was probably, you mean
Wingmaster?
Oh, the 870?
Mm-hmm.
Oh my gosh, I don't even know. I think they've made something like 12 to 15 million of them. It may have been in the 1950s, maybe 50. Yeah. I mean, you may have an early model. I would tell you what, just Google up or do a search online for 870 when it was made. I don't remember right offhand.
I might be wrong. I think when I got today, it was numbered 48,000.
Wow. Let's see here. See if I can. I'll tell you what, I'll see if I can figure it out and find out when it was originally made, and we'll get that information out. But yeah, that's what I would do. I would get a separate barrel for it if I were going to shoot steel shot in it. I appreciate the call there. Let's go line 4. Michael's in Tioga, North Dakota. Hey, Michael.
Hi, Tom. How are you doing today?
I am great, sir.
Good. Tom, I just wanted to pass a comment on. I'm in my late 50s, been shooting all my life, nice collection of handguns, and recently Walter developed a 45 ACP in their PPQ line, and I'm the proud owner of one of those. I had pretty much given up shooting the 45s because of some arthritic problems in my strong hand, and I purchased one of these and want to tell the 45 lovers out there that if you want something that's not only just absolutely crazy accurate, They have a polygonal barrel, which I'm sure helps with that, but it is so soft on the recoil. It's just a real pleasure to shoot. I have thoroughly enjoyed it. So if you're looking for a soft shooting 45, look at that PPQ that Walter has out there right now.
And also, doesn't it feel good in the hand when you pick it up, the ergonomics on it? The first time I picked one of those up, I just kind of went, wow, that's different. That really feels good.
Absolutely. I've owned one of their M1 version, which is the paddle version mag release. I've owned one of those in 9mm since shortly after they hit the market in 2011. And I've loved it. It's very accurate. You're right. The ergonomics on them are just fantastic.
Well, look, I appreciate that. Is a great range report. Thank you, Michael. Appreciate that very much. Let's see here. Yeah, we can do this. Kevin's on line 1 in Carson City, Nevada. Kevin, what'd you see in town?
Hey there, Mr. Tom. Great show as always. Merry Christmas, guy.
Thank you.
And just had a quick question. We have a business here in town that I frequent quite a bit, and on the door it has a sign that says no concealed carry weapons allowed. But Nevada being an open carry state, I just wonder what your thought is on the procedure there.
You mean, could you open carry in a place that has a sign that says no concealed carry?
Yeah, I don't want to. I go there quite a bit. I don't want to get anybody upset, but it's just kind of a reverse sign there. You'd think they would put up no gun at all, or why would they specify concealed only?
I don't know. If it's a place you just have to go, then I would probably just talk to the owner and see what the deal is. If it's a place you don't have to go, then if there's an alternative, I would go somewhere else and let them know why you're going somewhere else. Or you could try just open carrying and see how long you could get away with it. I would think it would be like 2 minutes or less before somebody said something to you about it. But my tendency is to say if it's a place you go a lot and you like it and they know you there, perhaps I would talk to the owner and just say, hey, what's cooking? What's the deal here? Always worth asking. Sometimes you will find that, that came down from corporate, or I never really thought of it that way. Once you start explaining, this only allows the criminals to come in. It keeps the good guys out, of course. And they go, never thought of that. You never know, but if you speak up, sometimes you can change the reality out there.
Broadcasting nationwide, you're listening to Gun Talk. And now, back to Tom.
All righty, 866-TALK-GUN gets you in here. 866-TALK-GUN. Just had a buddy of mine send me a little video of another friend of ours is flying a World War II Corsair. Yeah, the bent wing thing. Man, I tell you what, we do like turning money into noise, don't we? I often say that's what we do, whether it's cars or guns or airplanes or boats or ATVs or whatever. We just turn money into noise. Yeah. Well, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that, of course. You understand? Just saying. Tom's on line 3. He's in Flagstaff, Arizona. Hey, Tom.
Hello, Tom. Merry Christmas.
Thank you, sir. Merry Christmas to you.
Oh, thank you. You're costing me a lot of money, the great enabler. A lot of money.
What now?
Well, first off, it was training for my wife and my daughter. I had a wonderful experience. I met Kippy. I went down to her handguns in Mesa, Arizona. I'm up here in Flag, about 3 hours away. And it took 6 months or so convincing the wife. But she finally, we agreed. We went down, and Sydney went down, the daughter, and with a different mom. So it's a lot of confusion. Mom's an anti-gunner, so the 21-year-old shot for the first time, and with great instruction. And Debbie and Kippy Latham, they're just wonderful ladies. And my wife, she's a 357. She's a handgun girl, just a wheel gun woman is what I meant to say there, Tom. Okay. And so she came out of this now. She needs a 9mm.
Of course she does.
Well, because she refused to ever touch a semi-auto. I got a 40 next to the bed. Just got a Crimson Trace laser. I'm a real promo here. I could be a race car driver for your sponsors and just have your sponsor patches all over my body, Tom. So I went down to her handguns. Go ahead.
Let me ask you a question. When she was down there working with Kippy Latham, that's Rob Latham's wife, for those who don't know, did she shoot a semi-auto in the class there?
Yes. I rented one for Sydney. You know, of course, the XDM, I'm sure Rob gave her a deal on the XDM.
Mm-hmm. Makes sense, because Rob, of course, works for Springfield Armory, and the XDM is a great shooter. So what did you think after she had shot the semi-auto?
Well, she came to the conclusion that it's okay to love your 357, but maybe she needs another gun that has a laser, since she saw me just put a Railmaster on my XDM. I happen to, by coincidence, have an XDM 40, full-size, 4.5-inch Springfield. You know, and but she's for 7
you're going to have you're going to have a busy Christmas shopping period here.
Oh, and you know, I know you want to get rid of me here off the radio, but real quick, I touched the HK and the Walther this week in the gun store because I was kind of thinking, you know, maybe I needed a 40 a little smaller than my 4.5-inch XDM, but I can see my 40 just turn into a 9mm Walther probably.
Yeah, you know, every time I look at it, I think, yeah, I like 40s, I like 45s, but I swear I keep drifting back to the 9s. The practice ammo is so much cheaper, and, of course, the guns hold more ammo, and the defensive loads are pretty much equivalent all across the board in terms of what they will actually do in terms of stopping somebody. And I've never heard anybody who was in a gunfight who said, boy, I sure did have too much ammo. No, I hadn't heard that one. Appreciate it, Tom. Thank you for the call. John's in Tulsa, Oklahoma on 2. Hey, John, talk to me.
Hey, Tom, how you doing?
I'm great.
I was a little bit disheartened to hear your guest say that the Supreme Court, he thinks, will uphold background checks because I think once they explain the background checks lead to registration, they might not. But my question today was that, you know, I think we are fighting a battle that, you know, we need to, like, the next generation of kids. If we are in a minority, if gun owners are in a minority, they're going to pass laws that don't affect them, like universal background checks and so on. They're not going to care. And after a while, you know, the Second Amendment is just going to be a historical curiosity. And so my concern is that with all these distractions that the kids have nowadays, like video games, for example, it's really hard for me to get my kids, for example, out on the range to shoot. And, I mean, I understand all the things about Tannerite and exploding targets and, you know, fun games and stuff. But the thing is, we are competing against more and more things that are distracting, you know, like technology and so on. So how do we make it fun? I mean, how do do you have any ideas on how we can get our kids to go out and make it fun for them and not just a chore, you know, to go out and shoot?
Sure. How old are your kids?
I got 2 boys, 16 and 13.
Okay. First of all, yeah, absolutely. Invite them, have them bring friends with them. Of course, check with the parents and all. But I think when they're able to bring a buddy with them, I think it makes a huge difference. And then if you could get them into a situation where they can do the action type of shooting, not just shooting at cardboard, but shooting and moving, and maybe a class with that kind of thing. It's got to be exciting. And I got to tell you, the old style of punching holes in cardboard and paper is pretty darn boring.
Yeah, I shoot IDP, and I've tried to get them to do that, but they're just not interested. They just want to play Call of Duty, and I'm just trying to figure out how to compete for that.
Oh, that's easy. you delete it from their computer, and you don't buy it for them. See, that part's very easy.
Yeah.
No, you're laughing like I'm making a joke. I'm not making a joke at all. You take it away from them, and they don't get it anymore. That's easy. I absolutely tightly controlled what went on our computers as our kids were growing up. I did not let them play any of those kind of games. Not going to happen. And
well, I was just hoping that you could use your influence to maybe. I think we need to get into maybe we need a video game that talks about the value of guns and the value of gun ownership and just things that are more current, because I'm getting the feeling that we are becoming the next generation of the dinosaur is out of touch. And I was just wondering if there's something we can do to maybe use technology to help us, I don't know, just make some video games or something that conveys the importance of the Second Amendment,
I understand what you're saying, and I don't disagree with you that would be a good way to go if we could pull that one off. I don't know anybody who's going to produce a video game and plug that in when what people really want, it seems, is they want more stuff blowing up and they want to be able to... I hate this, but in games like Call of Duty and such, they basically want to run up the body count. And that's yet another reason that I am not a fan of these things. And I know people are going to say, Tom, you just don't understand. Well, to some extent, you may be right. Maybe I don't understand, so I don't know. But maybe I do. I don't know. What do you think? Call of Duty? Games like that? Good idea? Bad idea? 866 Talk Gun.
Smith & Wesson Bodyguards. Carry more comfortably, walk more confidently. When it comes to personal protection, nothing beats a Bodyguard. Choose the lightweight, compact, and concealable Bodyguard 380 pistol or the Bodyguard 38 revolver, both with a built-in laser sight. The Smith & Wesson Bodyguards. Carry more comfortably, walk more confidently.
Attacks happen every day. How will you react? See real people put into real-life criminal attack situations on First Person Defender. Discover what works and what doesn't. Kidnapping, ATM robbery, home invasion, and other attacks. Learn how to save your life and the lives of your family. Get the entire first season on DVD at shopguntalk.com. Get prepared. Shopguntalk.com.
The Ruger LCRX is a variation of the LCR that features an external hammer, allowing it to be fired in single action mode. The LCRX can also be fired in double action mode. It features a monolithic frame made from aerospace grade 7000 series aluminum, a patented Ruger friction reducing cam that results in a smooth, non-stacking trigger pull, and a patent pending polymer fire control housing that significantly reduces weight and helps reduce recoil. The Ruger LCRX Revolver, another rugged, reliable firearm from Ruger.
Be sure to watch NRA Freedom Friday from 8 p.m. to 11 p.m. with Freedom Fighters, American Air Gunner, ATSN Stop the Threat, Gun Talk TV, Championship Season, Guns and Gear TV. Watch NRA's Freedom Friday only on the Pursuit Channel, where we deliver the outdoors.
If you're looking for a safe and trusted way to sell your firearms, look no further than Dury's Gun Shop. I trusted them to sell my dad's collection. They built their business for over 50 years on honesty and customer service. Dury's Guns will buy any size collection or estate, none too big or too small. Selling your firearms to Dury's Guns is easy. Go with the pros. I trust Dury's Guns. Dury'sGuns.com. And we're back with the 866 Talk Gun. Yes, indeed, we have just uploaded the first half of Season 3 of First Person Defender on YouTube. Very cool stuff. We'll have a lot more about that in the coming weeks. Going to the phones, line 3, Joe is in Shreveport, Louisiana, with a range report. Hello, Joe.
Good afternoon, Tom. How you doing today, sir?
I am good. What'd you do?
Well, I was calling in. I usually catch up with you on the podcast, and just today happened to be live, but you've been talking a lot about doing medical training, and 2 summers ago I went to Thunder Ranch and did their home and vehicle defense class with the trauma block. And it was well worth every penny spent. I'm what you would call the class junkie. I've been to Thunder Ranch probably a dozen times. I've been to Marty and Gil at FAS and a bunch of classes. They're all worth every dime. But doing the trauma block and learning how to use the first aid kit and running through the tactical simulator under pressure with it was just invaluable experience to gain. Explain what the trauma block is so people know what you're talking about. There's they have two gentlemen that are from, one of them's now retired, Rick and George, that are San Antonio SWAT paramedics that sit down with you and basically work on two words with you, which are SIM and March. And those are acronyms for things that you learn in the class. You're given a first aid kit that has tourniquets, an NG tube, quick clot, chest film, and they teach you how to use that. And one of the scenarios they run you through, they actually put lab goggles on you that are blacked out, and you have to run through treating somebody when you can't see anything.
What was your takeaway from this? How did it change your behavior?
Well, I now have 4 of the first aid kits, 2 scattered around my car, 1 in my office, and 1 in very handy in my bedroom. And the tourniquet, one of the big aha moments I had in the class was we were talking that I'm on deer leases out in Texas, and I'm always out in the woods. And they're like, do you guys use a chainsaw? And I'm like, yeah, all the time. They're like, what happens if somebody cuts an arm or a leg with a chainsaw and you're 2 hours from an ambulance and somewhere out in Texas? And you're like, I guess I'm going to be carrying a tourniquet on my belt at all times now. So generally, if I go to the range, if I go anywhere, right behind my mag pouch is a tourniquet in a pouch. Just because if there's one thing that's going to save your life quickly, it's going to be that.
And people need to understand that having a tourniquet and not knowing how to use it is the same as carrying a gun and not knowing how to use it.
Correct. I mean, and it's one of those things where, you know, they teach in the class, and I am not a medical expert by any stretch of the imagination, but talking about, you know, the old Boy Scout thing, and I heard somebody talk about using a belt recently when they were on your show with broken glass, but using a belt can't apply constant pressure. If the surgeon's going to have a chance of saving a limb down the road, having that wide tourniquet belt that compresses the vein and doesn't crush the vein is critical for saving the limb, along with a number of other things. And it's putting it up at the highest access towards the joint and not an inch or two above, because as you saw in Black Hawk Down in the movie, the veins can move up the leg or not be where you think they might be if they're severed. So it's just teaching you things like that in class.
Well, this is terrific. I appreciate the info. I appreciate the range report on that. And thank you for the call. I'd like to offer this. This is not just about guns. This is about car wrecks and home accidents and, like he says, chainsaws and knives and stuff that happens and you're away from home. And people say, well, you know, I don't really go out in the woods. Okay, great. It's going to take 10 minutes for the ambulance to get here. You can bleed out in that amount of time. If you have the tools and you know what to do with them, you can save a life. And people say, well, you know, I carry a gun to save a life, mine or my family's. There's no real downside to this. Why would I not go take a class in trauma medicine? And we're talking about a 1 or 2 day class. That's what we're talking about. Really worthwhile. The life you save may be your child's. Stuff happens. I would find a class, sign up for that. I really would. I don't want to get, we got about a minute left here. I'll tell you what, we don't have time to get everybody. I'm sorry, what did you say, Jim? Go ahead. All right, yeah, that's what I was thinking. We don't have time to get you guys in. I'm going to bring you back on the backside because we've got several people on hold. We do have room for you, though, if you'd like to join us, 866-TALK-GUN. I see that the Democrats are saying they can't pass their gun control because they think we're just so stupid. So what they're going to say is, let's increase the taxes on guns and ammo, which makes the point that you need to understand, which is, they don't want to control guns. They want you not to have them. Why else would you increase the taxes? Let's make it unaffordable where people won't buy ammo and they won't buy guns, and we can get rid of them that way. They're not about control. They're about getting rid of your guns. They don't want you to have any. Raise the taxes on guns and ammo. Sure. How about $10 per round? That work for you? 866-TALK-GUN. Hi, back with you. Hey, Tom Gresham. It is, obviously you're listening to Gun Talk, and one of the things we talk about, of course, occasionally is politics. Did you notice that Ted Cruz has taken a 10-point lead in Iowa? There's big headlines. Now, I've been kind of keeping an eye on him, and you've heard me say before, kind of like the guy. I certainly like where he is on guns and gun control and the Second Amendment. So, and I guess the flip side of that is, and I just throw it out there because I know there are a huge number of Trump supporters, I am unconvinced where he is on guns. Says a lot of the right things, but then again, he was in favor of banning semi-automatic rifles. He was in favor, well, he's actually been in favor of a lot of gun control laws. I'm not sure what happened. Did he really have an epiphany? I don't know. But when it comes to actually explaining the Second Amendment, of course, Ted Cruz clerked at the Supreme Court. I kind of like where Cruz is on this. There's a video clip on YouTube. It's making the rounds, and I pulled the audio off of it because it's Cruz talking about the Second Amendment. And the question was, well, it seems like 90% of the people in a recent poll said they wanted the background checks. Do you think you're out of touch with them? And just listen to how he handles that.
You know, there's an old line, there are lies, damn lies, and statistics. You're right, that was a poll that was bandied around a lot, but you can find a lot of results in a poll depending on how you frame the question. As you and I both know, we have a system of background checks in place right now. If either of us goes to a federally licensed firearms dealer, there's a background check that's put in place. What Manchin Toomey was trying to do is extend that to every private sale between two individuals. Put the federal government, not in terms of having a system of background checks for federally licensed dealers, but for you and me, for two guys in a duck blind selling their shotgun one to the other. And the federal government doesn't have any business there. And if you ask the American people that, they don't want the federal government getting in between private consensual sales between individual citizens. And I would note that, you know, when you asked about the role of public opinions polls, when it comes to constitutional rights, what matters is what the Bill of Rights says. It doesn't matter what might be popular at the moment. We've seen regimes across the face of the earth come and take away people's guns, strip away their rights to defend themselves, and sometimes it's been very popular. And yet, it is an inevitable prelude to tyranny. Our country was founded on a radical proposition, which is that our rights don't come from government. They come from God. And the purpose of the Constitution, Thomas Jefferson said the Constitution serves as chains to bind the mischief of government. And the entire reason for the Second Amendment is not for hunting, it's not for target shooting. Those are both wonderful. It's great to go with your family, with your kids, to go hunting, to get to go skeet shooting, but that's not what the Second Amendment is for. The Second Amendment is there so that you and I can protect our homes and our families and our children and our lives. And it's also there as a fundamental check on government tyranny. And that ultimately is not subject to public opinion polls. It's subject to the express protections of the Bill of Rights of the Constitution.
Well, how do you not like that? He says, it's not a popularity contest. It really doesn't matter what the polls say. It doesn't matter what people say. It doesn't matter how many people, what the percentage of people want or don't want this. It's a constitutional right. You want to undo it, the implied message is, then amend the Constitution. Yeah, hard not to like that approach. It is going to be fascinating. There's, of course, another debate coming up this week. We'll see what happens with that one. It is kind of a free-for-all. It's a little strange out there. Question for you. Is this the year you say, I am going to get involved, I am going to support somebody, I'm going to go put out yard signs, I'm going to make calls? Or are we going to do like we used to do and not do anything and complain to our buddies about what's going on, but we're not going to get involved? We're going to shrug. Shrug. Where have I heard that before?